Hey Emily, I'm looking over your lesson plans and here's some feedback for you. In general, these are really well done. I like the way you stair-step the students through the ideas, especially, starting off with something that is structured, and I like some of the differentiation you have in there too. I'm going to push you a little bit farther to go over the rubric with them. I'll show you later in your lesson plan here, okay? So I think your goals are nicely worded, definitely achievable. So I think that these are nicely worded, very achievable, straightforward for the kids. They know exactly what it is you're expecting out of them in class during that day. And I like the fact that you're thinking about preparation before class even starts with both this piece here and this piece here. And then you allow them to experience before you label, which is good, bringing up some of their own stories before you talk to them about stories telling in general and the human nature of it. And so I like that sequence of events right there for them. This piece here then, good transition into what it is that's happening in our brains and what it is that happens externally with the stories. I think it's a little optimistic to think that a 7th grader will be able to tell you that, but I'm not too worried about it because you have it written in your lesson plan, so you know that you need to guide them in that direction. Okay. Obviously, you're doing a lot of work towards their efficacy, lots of positive comments like this. Sometimes when you're doing a lot of those positive comments, you want to mix in comments that praise them for their efforts and for their persistence and their resiliency, instead of just for right answers and instead of just saying things like you're smart. Because especially when you get on to teaching some more difficult pieces in the classroom, and you want to reward kids for trying and you want to create that place of learning, just rewarding them for right answers all along is really going to build a high sense of risk in the classroom for them. So you want to be just be wary of that as you're handing out some of that praise, okay? So this piece down here, I like it. Obviously, that was one of my recommendations, right? Starting with fairy tales. And then you moved into A Wrinkle in Time, which is the text you just finished telling for guided practice, so that's really good. And then the piece, hold on, bear with me while I scroll. Okay. So you have them start working on their graphic organizer and their main idea. And then, hold on, bear with me while I scroll. Okay, so I like the different prompts that you have chosen for them, but I notice you also have the rubric attached to this lesson plan, but you didn't really address it necessarily, and I didn't see it in your second lesson plan either. So what you might want to do is, at some point, either at the end of the first lesson plan or the second lesson plan, go over this rubric and talk about what some of these different things mean. For instance, right, because some of these things are pretty abstract to a kid. Look at this. Engages and orients the reader by establishing a context and a point of view, versus attempts to engage or orient the reader by establishing a context and point of view. That's a very fine line between the two of them, and you want to talk to them about what it means in general to engage or orient the reader, and how is it that we do it effectively. And so at some point in your unit, you're going to need to really drill down and have some very concrete conversations about this rubric for them, okay? All right, going on to your second lesson plan then. Again, a lot of good stuff. I'm liking a lot of what I'm seeing in here. Obviously, you're drawing, right from your evidence outcome into your rubric there, and I like that, okay? Here's the thing, one of the pieces I wanted to push you a little harder for here. So you have a very nice alignment between your objective right here and the actual lesson plan you're having them do. And I see you model it, but we're missing a really essential piece in your model. Let me show you what I mean, okay? Oops, sorry, that's highlighted because I went and watched it. Cool little video, I like that. Fun, interesting way to get class started and to get them thinking about the plot line. And right here then, I absolutely love this piece. The fact, as I was watching the little YouTube video, I was like, this is interesting, but I wonder what she's doing. And then from the way that you pulled all of that together to say, look, there was no dialogue, no narrator. All you did was, see these actions into play. And that was beautifully done. I did not see that coming at all. And I love the fact that you did that. This is just a really nice, okay? So you put your idea map on the board, you do the show, don't tell, and then right here, you say, do I want a first-person narrator told from the point of view of my character, or do I want third person? Students go third person. Okay, should the narrator be omniscient or limited? Limited. Interesting choices. And then you move on, all right? These choices are really intentional choices on the part of a writer, and you want to slow down just a little bit and talk about why we would have those choices. What are the pros and cons of those choices? How do those choices fit well with the particular purpose for the story, a particular character, a particular genre? Right here, they seem like, and I think indeed they are, just totally random choices on your part. And remember what we were talking about, for some kids, making those choices up front is almost paralyzing. And you want to help by establishing a little bit of criteria. I'm not saying do a whole lesson plan on it, but a little bit of criteria. You know, so what's the difference between those two? Why do you think someone would want to use those? Why, you know, building a first-person narrator builds empathy with the protagonist, you know, if the protagonist is a first-person narrator builds empathy with whoever is narrating, and then really kind of shuts out, you know, any possibility of knowing what's going on in anyone else's head. Why would we want to do something like that, okay? And have that conversation. Then same thing for third person, same thing for omniscient, and same thing for limited, okay? So crack your head open a little bit and make this an actual think aloud where you go through the criteria for the choices and your purpose for those choices. So that way the kids can model both the thinking and the decision making, okay? Right here then. Okay, you start making some choices. You're going to write about Victoria, and Victoria is shy. Okay. And you practice your showing, not telling. And I think that's beautifully done, all right? But again, bear with me while I scroll. Right here, you say, I'm going to write about Victoria, but instead of saying she's shy, I'm going to show it. And then you write, okay? Now, that's not actually how that happens, all right? What happens right here in this blank space is essential for you to stop and metacognate on what happened, okay? Because you want the kids to be able to model that process. Okay, so I've got a main character, and my main character's like totally like rough and tough on the outside because she doesn't want anyone to mess with her, but like secretly inside she's scared. Stop. The questions you ask yourself are, what does someone look like when they're totally, you know, rough and tough on the outside? Or in your case, right, what does someone look like when they're totally shy? What are some of those mannerisms? You jot down a little bit of a list. You might even draw a bit of a picture, you know, do some thinking, you know, does that person have a face that looks like this, you know, like all bright-eyed and like wide and open? Does that person kind of have a, you know, a nonverbal body language where they kind of hunch their shoulders in and like put their hand up by their face? All the thinking that you're doing right here, Emily, stop and insert that thinking before writing. So that way I've got a decision to make, I think about my decision, I write it. Remember that writing is the process of organizing our thoughts. And when you go from this to this, you didn't show them the organizing your thoughts. So I hope you see what I'm getting at there, okay? Because you made it look so damn easy. And for 7th graders sitting in there, they're going to be like, oh, oops. So you have a little bit of that in here, but I want you to crack your head open multiple times. Put it in up above, put it in here, have them practice with each other, even having them turn to a partner and go, okay, tell your partner what your character's all about and see if your partner can like demonstrate some body language or some mannerisms or something like that, and then you can jot some notes down. So it becomes this interactive activity, something like that, okay? Okay, so here's your 3rd lesson plan. Obviously got your grammar lesson plan put in here, and I think that you did a really good job in doing that. And I like the fact that at the end of lesson plan 2, you collected their introductions and went through them, you know, for a bit of a formative assessment on your part. I think that's very well done, okay? Pardon me. Here again, I like the fact that you had them experience before you labeled, so it's a very realistic thing for them to, you know, to bring up. And then coming up to the board and modeling with commas. Just be careful and, you know, making sure you're choosing kids that actually want to stand up in front of the class and do that. I think your worksheet is very nicely aligned. Ask them to practice exactly what you want to practice, and then requiring them to put that into their paper is good. I also noticed that you mentioned the, bear with me while I scroll, the rubric on here. I don't know where you put that. Oh, right here. I see that you mentioned the rubric here, but again, I want to remind you that you have not really addressed the nitty-gritty of that rubric yet with the kids, and I think that you should be doing that at least once, if not twice, to set their purpose and then to help remind them of their purpose as they're moving through. Okay, so here's your 4th lesson plan, and I like the fact that you drop them into sensory language by giving them a really accessible activity up front, and even using a little bit of humor. Obviously, talking about what rocks taste like is entertaining for a 7th grader. So I like that piece there, and then right here, just a little bit of a hiccup again. Right here, you went, you know, Victoria's walking through the White House. It is smoldering, but it was on fire earlier, so I'm going to use sensory language. And boom, you drop straight into the writing instead of right here in this blank moment right there, stopping and generating thoughts, organizing your thoughts, and then writing. You're making this look way too easy for the kids, and for kids who feel confident in their writing, that's going to be okay for them, but you know that a lot of your students are not going to feel confident in those skills, and they're not going to, their brain's not just going to generate those ideas as easily as they do for you, and it's going to intimidate them. So you've got to stop and make that think aloud an actual think aloud. Writing is the process of organizing our thoughts. Show them that you're doing that right there, okay? Right here then, I like that you say, I would like you to take a few minutes, think about the scene you're writing. This right here is beautiful, and I'm glad that you've built that in, and I'm glad that you've given this 5 to 8 minutes. That's a nice amount of time to stop and think about something before they move on to it. I also like the differentiation too, that you have kids working together or working alone if they prefer it, because some kids really just do. Think about my little boy. He just really prefers to be by himself. Okay, and then we move into conclusions. I like that you've got some steps on the board right here. Those are perfect, and I think those can really help, especially your reticent writers, look at those pieces. Don't forget, as you're moving them through these steps, to break down some of these big words right here. I think analyze is a word that we throw around in teaching a lot. I'm not sure that everyone knows what it means, and I'm not sure that our kids actually understand what it means. Like, for them, analyze means like take a guess at it or think about it, not the actual process of breaking something into its component parts and through reassembling them, gaining a bigger understanding of the whole. So make sure that you're moving through all of that with them, okay? Okay, so here's your 5th and final lesson plan. Obviously, I like your opening activity, right? And I like the story that you chose. It's a good one that moves along quickly and allows them to get a lot of movement. Pardon me. I really enjoy the sense of humor that you plan to work in, and I think it'll be really interesting as you work next year with some of those middle school kids to see if some of this humor flies with them, you know, how they take to it, say. Okay, so you have them moving through the activity right here, and right here, you know, it's a really good opportunity to elaborate for them, not just things like you guys rock, but you know what I really liked was your willingness to try something even when you're uncomfortable with it. That impresses me, or that's amazing, or that's wonderful. So, you know, be a little bit more specific in rewarding them for risk taking, rewarding them for their processing activities instead of just their you know, the end work, okay? So a pretty good lesson plans, honestly. I mean, Emily, I think you've definitely got some changes to do, but nothing major. Nice job.